Hello everyone. It's me, Arden Lee. I am back with another video, and in today's video, we're going to talk a little bit about whether plant medicines can be helpful to you in your journey in bringing more and more conscious awareness to your patterns and your choices. This is a pretty fun subject for me. I have some experience in the realm of plant medicine. This particular topic, hi Virgil, say hi to all the people. No, you're going to go back for a nap? Okay. This particular topic was requested by one of the members of the Repatterning Parlor. So here we are having a little bit of talk about it. And before I get into that topic, as always, of course, if you have not yet done so, I would love to invite you to subscribe to my channel and or like my page, depending on what platform you are watching this video on. And if you're not yet familiar with me and my work, my name is Arden Lee, and I am the creator of the Repatterning Project. That is an 8-week course where we examine our patterns, we start to make more conscious choices in our lives, we start to bring awareness to our decisions and our everyday habits and the patterns that we get into so we can remove the obstacles in front of us that are on our path towards success, happiness, achievement, abundance, and all those wonderful things that we are looking to call in for ourselves. So if that sounds like something that you're into, go ahead and check out the links that I have left in the description box. I have a link to a free PDF guide about the Repatterning Project so you can learn what we do in the course. And I also have a link to that group I mentioned, the Repatterning Parlor. That is a free Facebook group that I moderate. So I would love to have you there. Just come on and follow that link, answer the 2 questions to be admitted, and come say hi, hang out with us. All right, so let's talk a little bit about plant medicines and or other substances and whether they are helpful on your journey or not. So I could tell you about some of my personal experience with plant medicine, and I think I will in the second half of this video. But since that's more anecdotal, the real advice that I want to give about this is understanding that cultivating discernment and emotional self-mastery applies to plant medicines as it does anything else in any other part of your diet, so to speak. And when I say diet, of course, I'm referring to the diet of everything that you allow into your energy field. So that could be your media diet. It could be your actual diet, your food diet. It could be whether you choose to use alcohol or not. It could be it's the people you surround yourself with. It's the energy of your home, whether you have clutter or you choose deliberately the things in your space that bring you joy and make you happy. So part of what we go over and the tools that we give ourselves in the course of the Repatterning Project is the ability to recognize when something is being helpful for us or when it's not. And there are actually many ways that things can be helpful. So for example, coffee can be helpful first thing in the morning sometimes if you need a boost of caffeine to, excuse you, you are currently not being helpful. Virgil's not being helpful right now, but there are some times that he is really helpful, like when I want a snuggle or, when he's behaving himself a little better. So for example, coffee can be something that can be really helpful in the morning when you want a little bit of a pick-me-up to get your day started, get that caffeine boost right there. But for, if it's 9 p.m. at night, then coffee is probably not going to be particularly helpful to you, right? Similarly with, there may be certain people that you want to have around you in your life when you need to get motivated, when you need like a really great pep talk, when you need someone to light a fire under your ass and get you into action. And there may be other people in your life who are better suited for when you need things like compassion, empathy, like a chill, mellow space to just process or whatever. So understanding that every single thing that we allow into our energy field carries an energetic signature, and being able to possess the discernment to know which energetic signature we need to get us forward into our next step, right? So if we need that jolt of energy in the morning, we reach for coffee. If we need something to chill us out in the evening, hopefully we reach for, we might reach for cannabis, like an indica strain of cannabis to make us a little sleepier. We might reach for a book, we might put our screens away and say, like, I'm going to stop looking at the phone after 7 p.m. or I'm going to use my blue blocker sunglasses. And then I'm going to just, I'm just going to read. I'm just going to read from an old-fashioned book, because I don't know about you guys, but for me, if I read for an extended period of time, it makes me pretty sleepy. So the same thing applies to substances, like plant medicines, or we can talk about other substances as well. I have a personal bias toward plant medicines. I like things that are natural. I feel like I can trust nature a little bit more than than I can trust man-made substances. And with the exception of the time that I was on medication when I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety before I discovered all of this work, I was on medications then, but I'm not really on. I'm not on any now, so. So plant medicines are really a bit more my wheelhouse, the ones that I have experience with anyway. So I am naturally biased about that. So when I speak about my experience with substances, I am going to be focusing primarily on plant medicines. And but again, in all things, use your discernment. So how do you use discernment to determine whether something is right for you on a certain step of your journey? My greatest advice about this would be to when you are using a substance of any kind, and I would even challenge you to extend this beyond substances. I would extend this even to, first of all, to substances like coffee and alcohol, things that we don't even typically think of as substances, quote unquote. And I would also extend this to things that are, again, in your media diet, things that are activities that you do, things that are things you consume, whatever. You can take this to that advanced ninja level if you really want to. But in the meantime, for just determining whether a substance is useful to you or not, what I would do is I would journal. I would track everything in a journal, and I would write down how I felt before doing something, how I felt immediately during it, how I felt immediately after it, and how I felt in either the next morning or in the day that followed. For me personally, actually, let me go back to that. So after you journal those things, I would then look at what states those things tend to produce in you, and determine then what it's useful for in your life, and determine when you're going to be intentional about using a plant medicine or anything else that might be in your, coming into your energy field. So for me personally, so now I'll get into the more anecdotal part of it. For me personally, intentional use of cannabis was really transformative for my own journey. It was actually before I went on my whole in-depth transformation that I had a couple of actually really intense trips on cannabis, and during those intense trips, zoomed out so far from the timeline that I started to get really what we would call paranoid. It was a paranoid trip, but the truth is there was actually a lot of underlying wisdom that I saw. I zoomed out so far in the timeline that I saw that I had no retirement plan for myself. I had nothing planned out for my future. I didn't know how I was going to sustain myself, and I had just been living kind of moment to moment surviving. And at that time in my life, I was within a 5-year period where I had, at the beginning of that 5 years, I was at my most depressed, my most suicidal, and I had made an agreement with myself that I was going to give it 5 years to really try and get my life together. I was basically, I kind of Jedi mind tricked myself into not killing myself. I was like, I don't really think I can commit to just not killing myself for the rest of my life, because that seems like a really long time to commit to, but I can commit to 5 more years on this planet. And in those 5 years, I'm going to really try and get my shit together. So I was like, the goal is that by the end of those 5 years, I'm going to be happy enough that I don't want to kill myself anymore. And this maybe happened, like, say, it was maybe 3.5, maybe almost, yeah, probably about 3.5, maybe 4 years into those 5 years. And I went on some really deep cannabis trips that really showed me all of the areas of my life that I had not been dealing with. And I actually felt really strong pangs of embarrassment at how I'd been living my life. At that point in time, I was still a dating coach, but I really hadn't addressed all of my internal issues, and all of these things were slowly coming up to be purged, but I hadn't really recognized them yet. So in my work, I noticed all these all these kind of toxic things and these complaints and these incongruencies coming up for me that I hadn't yet addressed, and I felt this really strong sense of shame, actually. And I kind of realized, I was like, I can't believe that I've spent most of my career just kind of vomiting my issues on the people who are following me. And it came out of that I was like, I better actually, if I'm going to be in my integrity with this kind of work, I actually owe it to myself and my audience to solve these problems going forward. I'm not even sure that I was able to articulate it as well as that when I first had that experience. I just knew that there was something that was fundamentally wrong with the way that I was living my life, and I couldn't go about doing that anymore and still remain in my integrity. I couldn't bury my head in the sand after that. Cannabis is one of those tricky things that it really depends on the intention with how you use it, because it's very possible to get into a habit with cannabis where we just zone out and we numb out. And the thing that I understand about cannabis to be true is that it will work with our intentions. So if our intention is just to numb out at the end of the day and escape from our life, it will absolutely aid us in doing that. However, all of the problems, all of the pain that it is numbing will absolutely show up in other areas of our life to be healed. And not always in the most pleasant manner. So you absolutely can use cannabis intentionally to bring in those downloads and to zoom out along your timeline and see the larger patterns. There have been a lot of things that I have channeled, a lot of wisdom that has come through me while I have been intentionally using cannabis as a means of opening my consciousness to a greater awareness and I guess allowing that openness to help me bring through greater collective wisdom. So a lot of that has been really, really helpful to me. At the same time, within this past month, I felt really called to stop using cannabis for a while because I set an intention to become a morning person and to become more and more focused about my work. And what I found was that cannabis was great for opening me up and bringing a lot of channeling, and downloads through. And it really helped me gain some greater perspectives, but I was so tired sometimes in the mornings, or sometimes, even still a little bit high when I was waking up, and that could be pleasant, but it would make me just want to stay in bed all day. So it wasn't in alignment with my intentions. So I've stopped using cannabis for a little while. I sort of am starting to reincorporate it now, but it's more intentional and less habitual. So in this sense, it's really about what your goal is and what you want to accomplish and what you want to achieve. I really do feel that that cannabis, for example, has been was during my journey really, really helpful with grounding me, with showing me what I needed to see, with opening me up to to more and more conscious awareness of what I was going through and what was happening for me. But at some point, I also think I was like, okay, it's time to zip up. It's time to come out of the cocoon, which means I don't want to just be sitting around doing all of my internal deep dives all the time. It's actually time for me to be more outwardly focused. So I've concentrated mostly on cannabis for this video, especially since cannabis is the thing that is legally accessible to us now. But I've also experienced a couple of other plant medicines such as ayahuasca and wachuma. I am by no means an expert in them, so I don't feel. I feel that, again, if they call to you, use your discernment and seek out an expert, seek out a facilitator who is going to be more informed to be able to guide you on your journey. I will say for me, however, that certainly ayahuasca in particular was definitely a source of opening myself up to an outside perspective. And it was really the underlying key to my ability to finally fall in love with myself and and start really living up to my potential. So I absolutely, do I recommend it for people? Yes, with a caveat. I recommend it for people with the caveat that any attempts to coax or cajole or persuade someone into a path to a plant medicine that is that powerful is absolutely evil. People really have to feel called to do it themselves. And it's really necessary that they use their free will to go on that journey. I don't want, it's such a powerful and transformative medicine that I really don't want it on my head that anyone's like, Arden said I should do this. No, you have to want to do it for yourself. You have to really feel called to it. That said, for me, I was absolutely grateful to that medicine. I haven't done it in over a year and a half now, but throughout 2017, when I was in that part of my journey, I had several ceremonies within a very short amount of time, about a 5-month period of time in which I went through 10 ceremonies, and absolutely I feel that accelerated my healing path by really showing me all the things that I needed to learn and incorporate in front of me. But at the end of the day, absolutely trust your discernment. Keep track and see how something is making you feel, because cannabis can have one effect for one person and a different effect for another person. So the best advice I can offer in this particular topic is to be really, really mindful about something's effects on your body, on your energy, on your mood, on the way that it makes you feel. And then use your discretion and use those things in the moments when it is useful for you to feel that particular way, as with everything else as well. Thank you guys for paying attention, and I hope this was helpful.